All right. So what we're saying here is that for this paper with the header stele, we're saying that the anther, right, will release pollen to the one with with the taller with the higher stigma. That's what we're saying, right? That's what the notes say, right? I think it would make sense because if the anthers are that long, right, it's looking like it's promoting another type of pollination. It's like promoting wind pollination, and things with stigma that point outside of the petals tend to attract pollen that is floating in the wind, right? But let's say that a insect crawls into the flower on the left, right? Then in order to get nectar, it will crawl into the flower on the right, and that will pollinate that stigma there. So I think the stigma on the right, we should be drawing lines from those anthers, those tall anthers to the tall stigma, and from the short anthers, probably a curve over to the short stigma. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
So can you repeat
Yes,
that,
sir.
please?
Okay, so what I'm saying is that okay, this I need somebody did okay. I don't know. I can't download the file. I wanted to download the file so I can write on it. Um, but you can see my cursor now. Can you see my cursor?
No, no, I
Oh,
can't.
oh boy. But the flower on the right, right, with the taller anthers, right? You're gonna draw a line from those anthers to the toe to the stigma, right, on the left, right, and then vice versa. The flower on the left, you're gonna draw are from those anthers to the stigma on the right. I think that's a proposed answer there. I'm gonna look more into it.
Okay,
I have friends who are in third year who are doing
okay.
zoology. So I'm gonna ask my friend this really quick because she basically has a degree in botany and zoology. So let me go and ask her to just lock in that answer there. All right. Hopefully she answers within time. All right. Okay. Explain how one feature of the flowers shown in figure 2 is advantageous to plants. One feature. How one feature of the plants here be advantageous. One.
Sir, can I see the question?
The question asks us, right? Explain how one feature of the plants shown in figure 2 is advantageous for plants. One feature that is advantageous for plants from figure 2.
Sir, does this have to do with the length of each?
It could be, but we're just choosing one feature.
Okay, so I'm guessing that the length of the stigma on the left, because it's tall, it allows insects to pollinate it easily.
So it's easily reachable.
And also wind pollination.
And wind pollination, lovely. It allows for the easy access to any pollen grains floating in the wind. Okay. And that will increase the rate, not the rate, the chances of pollination. All right. Because we're just referring to one feature from here now. All right. Describe two other named mechanisms which ensure that pollen moves in the same direction as explained in the first one. In this one. Two other mechanisms that will ensure that pollen moves in the same direction as explained in the first one.
sir, like mechanisms as in like what we just stated, wind and insects and stuff like that.
Those are mechanisms of pollination. But looking at general mechanisms that will ensure that pollen moves in the same direction. So we're saying the first one, that one good feature of the plants may be because the anther is taller on the one and the stigma is taller on the other. Right? Promoting wind pollination, insect pollination, stuff like that. Alright. Okay. Name two other ones that will support pollination in that same direction. I think self-incompatibility that we discussed could be one. I think that's protandry on the right and protogeny on the left could be one. I think that male sterility on the right could be one. I'm not sure if hercogamy would work in this case, which is the presence of a physical or mechanical barrier between the male and the female organs, because that is not displayed here, so hercogamy could not work. It was not mentioned whether or not they are dichogamous in nature, but dichogamous with the a dichogamous nature, unequal maturation, right? Whether it be as I was stated, protandry on the right, protogeny on the left. That could be protandry on the right. Is it protogeny? No, protandry on the left and protogeny on the right could work. What we're looking is what supports cross pollination, because in the first way we did pollination, right? Cross pollination, right? For what is our figures were saying, right? And what supported it would have been, the length of the stigma, the length of the style. Sorry, the length of the style and the length of the filament. Alright? In this case, if we're referring to what mechanisms could ensure cross-pollination, it could be hercogamy, which is not shown. Could be dichogamy, which with protandry on the left and protogeny on the right. No, protandry on the right and protogeny on the left, meaning that the taller anthers mature faster than the smaller anthers, and the taller style matures faster, and the stigma of the taller stigma, right, matures faster than the shorter stigma. Because that will ensure that pollen would actually come from the taller anther and do go to the taller stigma. That will ensure that, right? Male sterility, right, would ensure it as well, because if both plants are sterile to their own pollen, then there would be no choice but to cross pollinate. And self-incompatibility as well. If both stigma, right, do not accept the genes present in their own pollen, they will be forced to cross pollinate. Alright? Could speak about those things. Alright, that looks fine. We're looking at, did I skip anything? No. Okay. This is drawing. I honestly can't. I can't write on it, so it's fine. So light micrograph of the ovarian secondary oocyte. I provided multiple diagrams when I was going through the topic, and they're really, really simple diagrams there. So you guys can use really simple diagrams doing it. It's literally, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, and put some dot or some smaller circles around the place. Like, honestly, just drawing that. I think you guys can draw that, right? you guys can draw up a zona pellucida, right? And you know your Valian membrane and your corona radiata and stuff like that. You can draw those. You never asked to label it. Did it ask to label it? Draw a plan diagram. I mean, with a plan diagram, what I would assume is to annotate as well, but it didn't say to annotate. So, okay, in this position, right? As a biology student doing this paper, I would have drawn my plan diagram to the best of my ability, and I would have still annotate, because they didn't say to annotate. But it's better you annotate and them not tell you to annotate than don't annotate when them do why if annotate. Right, so I think it's better I would just annotate, but some people may just draw it because they did mention annotation, and I think that's fine. Alright, I think that's fine. I would draw that and annotate it as a student. Describe the functional group, not the functional group. That's so chemistry. Describe the functional role of the zona pellucida and the granulosa cells in the fertilization process. I went through this. Could somebody have a go at this?
The zona pellucida acts as a barrier for multiple sperm to basically come in contact with the secondary oocyte.
And what is that called when multiple sperms come in contact?
The granulosa cell.
Huh?
Ah, God, I forgot this.
Sir,
I'm trying to remember.
Polyspermy.
Gummy?
Not gummy.
Oh my God.
Not the polygamy. Wait, hold on. What you would think polygamy means? Okay, so what does a granulosa?
That just came to my mind.
Hello. What does the granulosa? Rule of granulosa. Okay, I'm not seeing the chats. I need to go back on this thing.
Sir,
Go ahead.
sir, what was the keyword that you said a while ago? What was the keyword that you said a while ago?
Polyspermy, multiple sperm trying to fertilize the secondary oocyte. Polyspermy. So the zona pellucida acts as a barrier there to prevent polyspermy and stuff like that. The granulosa cells tend to produce hormones to support the Graafian follicle before the blastocyst has been prepared, because the blastocyst, right? It can produce progesterone to maintain, right? To maintain the endometrium, right? But we know that it is the Graafian follicle's job, the ovarian follicle, Graafian follicle's job, right? That really produces that, right? But what's happening here now? Okay, let's think about before, cause it doesn't.
Sir.
Go ahead. What?
Sir, also, isn't it like during ovulation and the secondary oocyte is like released? Isn't the granulosa cells actually also what form the corpus luteum? Maybe that could be said.
All right, hold on.
They make up a part of it.
Okay, so when I was speaking about the granulosa cells, right, I was thinking about something. I think a better answer would have been that they proliferate and enclose the oocyte in the follicle before ovulation, right? Because a part of it, you know. The thing is, the granulosa cells come from the Graafian follicle, right? But when the mass becomes the Graafian follicle, we start to separate what we call them. So at the time of ovulation, when luteinizing hormone is now rising, has risen, right, for ovulation, right? The granulosa cells would have surrounded the secondary oocyte. I think that's a better answer here for fertilization, to prepare it, to protect it, right? So it surrounds it, but we won't call the ruptured corpus luteum granulosa cells, if you get what I'm saying. So I think that the answer here would have been to form the corona radiata, right, to protect the overall cell, to cover the zona pellucida, right, or the granulosa cells that were continued to live in the that did continue to live in the Graafian follicle, they could have probably continued to produce some amount of progesterone, right? And then that progesterone concentration would have increased when it turned into the corpus luteum. But it depends. I think it would have probably been to enclose the oocytes in the follicle before ovulation. Because what it does, it encloses the oocyte and protects it, so it ensures the normal development of the oocyte. It also produces the hormone, so I think it should be fine. All right. 4 marks for that though. Let's have a look at what's happening here. Men and women. How exclusive. Men and women can experience problems with the production of sperm.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. Because the thing, I read the sentence and I said men and women can experience problems with the production of spermatocytes. I'm like, I didn't read the oocytes part, so I paused. All right, so men and women can experience problems with the production of spermatocytes and oocytes, respectively, which are controlled by various hormones in the human body. I stated all of them and exactly what they did. So let's look at it now. A fertility clinic recommends a drug to treat men with a low sperm count and women who are not ovulating. Figure 4 below shows the impact of the fertility drug on gametogenesis in men and women. Lovely. Figure 4 is showing the impact of the fertility drug on gametogenesis in men and women. Interesting. Discuss how the drug in figure 4 helps to treat low sperm count in men and women who are not ovulating. You must present your response in complete paragraphs. So first of all, I would believe that hormone action blocked by a drug. Okay, lovely. So in men, what's happening here is that progesterone can be turned into estrogen in the testes. I thought I forgot to say that in my review. I forgot to say that. I apologize. Yes, I did forget to say it. But what's happening here now is that this molecule now, what is it doing? It inhibits the hypothalamus from producing gonadotropin, and it inhibits the pituitary from producing LH and FSH. But what the hormone does is block it from doing that. So what do you think it does? Explain how this helps to treat sperm count. Go ahead.
Sir, can you repeat what you just said, please, like before?
So I would say that the production of testosterone and eventually estrogen, right? That production initially there would actually cause it will stop their hypothalamus from producing gonadotropin. And if it stops gonadotropin, it will eventually stop the pituitary from producing FSH and LH. Looking at the diagram of the drug mechanism in males, how do you propose the drug would help to treat the low sperm count? Anyone? Think a bit about it.
Sir, I think it will signal the hypothalamus, that word. It will signal that to produce more, but I'm not sure.
Well, it won't signal it. The problem is it won't receive a signal at all. So the signal that stops the hypothalamus will not be there. So it will continue and continue and continue, and testosterone levels will increase exponentially. You get what I'm saying? The response that stops it will no longer be there. So it will continue to produce gonadotropin. Pituitary gland will continue to produce FSH and LH, right? Driving the production of testosterone, right, by the Leydig cell. But it's also it will eventually drive the production of inhibin, right, by the Sertoli cell. But diagram never show no inhibin here. The diagram incomplete. But, right, what we're saying is that it would probably stop, right, the negative feedback loop, right? And then allow for testosterone levels to skyrocket within the men, right? And then now you know that testosterone helps with the proliferation, right, of these cells that help for spermiogenesis and spermatocytogenesis and stuff like that, right? So what we're doing is increasing testosterone levels. That's what it's doing. Make sense?
Sir, and when the levels increase, so that accounts for the low count or something like that.
Yeah, because as testosterone levels increases, right, sperm count should increase. Somebody else was saying something. I think you may have cut off somebody. I'm not sure what they were saying. They said no. But that essentially is what is happening, you know. Alright? Now, how will this help women who are not ovulating now? Wouldn't it be the same thing? Wouldn't it be the same? Cause it stops. It literally stops the same processes. Cause remember, the hormone system works the same in males as this is in females. In this case, therefore, it's literally doing the same thing. So you just need to present everything in full paragraphs. You need to talk about the mechanism that is a negative feedback loop, and by the drug blocking the action, it will break the negative feedback loop, allowing for the continuous propagation of gonadotrophin by the hypothalamus. And you just need to write it. It's a lot of words. It's an explanation, and I think that's why it's like 12 marks or so. It is 12 marks. So all you need to do is just sit down and just explain each intricate piece of the mechanism, and you should be fine. And that's the end of module 3. Because the last module, module 3, they decided that I'm not giving you any more questions. I'm giving you one 12-mark question. That's what they did. So, no, go ahead.
What?
Sir,
Yeah.
can you explain for the women who are not ovulating, please? Because I'm trying to put it together, but I don't think it sounds well.
What causes ovulation?
Sir, a spike in LH.
Yup. So the estrogen specifically blocks the production, blocks the pituitary gland from producing FSH and LH, right? So that's why the women are not ovulating. Right? There's an issue there causing the women to stop ovulating. What the drug does, the drug stops that process there, stops the inhibition. It stops the inhibition of the pituitary gland, and therefore the pituitary gland will start to produce what? LH. And LH is what causes what? Ovulation. If you look at it like that, it makes sense, right? Because what you're doing is inhibiting the inhibition. Don't know if it makes more sense. But I think you need to just have a look at it.
Sir, will you post your recording on YouTube?
That is the hope. Alright, so I'm going to